obstacles and challenges that need to be addressed in form, particularly for undergraduate, postgraduate, and I believe those who are already doctors, professors could also find 1 or 2 tips or probably add more to the discussion and make it more influential. Without further ado, Dr. Ajo, we are delighted to have you on board, and then the floor is all yours, sir. You are welcome. Thank you very much. Sir, Dr. Ajo, it seems your mic is muted right now. You need to please unmute. Yeah.
Thank you, Oga Yusuf, for the wonderful introduction. Alhamdulillah, nahmudu wa naskuru, amma ba'd, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
We thank Allah for everything. We thank Allah for making us a Muslim. We thank Allah for bestowing us with knowledge. So first of all, I want to thank the organizer of this program for inviting me. And inshallah, I will try my best to try and discuss the topic I've given. Although I'm still a student, so most of the things that I will be saying are those things that I've learned from my teachers and based on my own experience as well. So the topic before me this evening is overcoming challenges in research, addressing common obstacles and strategy to overcome them. So this is the outline of my presentation. This is how my presentation will go. So I'll talk on motivation and attributes of a successful researcher, and how not having a good motivation and attribute of a researcher could lead to problem when you could lead to problem when you are starting your maybe doctoral program or as an early career researcher. And how student supervisor relationship or host can also lead to problem. And why do you need mentors to try to stop or mitigate or try to cope with these challenges? And I will highlight some challenges as well as conclusion. So attributes of a successful researcher. So I would like us maybe to think or write what we feel are the attributes of a successful researcher. This is important in the sense that if you don't have the attributes, to cope in research, I think it should be quite of a problem to be able to do the research and to be able to navigate through that path. So it's important to assess if one really have the attributes to be able to be a successful researcher. So I think I want us to write, what we think are the attributes of a successful researcher, and just try to think about it. So for me, according to Stoll and Siapo 2014, these are what they listed as attributes of a successful researcher. Passionate about his or her career. One must have passion about what you are trying to do. Like you must have real passion about joining a doctoral program or choosing academia as your career. You must really have passion for it because it's not all rosy going through the journey. You must be resilient. I think this attribute is required for everything we do in this life. Detail-oriented, of course. You must be able to manage your data, be able to, organize yourself. A creative thinker, you must be able to interpolate information into bigger picture. Like you must be able to, determined, knowledgeable. Of course, you must be knowledgeable about your field. If you are not knowledgeable about your field, you are not a researcher. A team player, you must be able to manage people. You must be able to collaborate. You must be able to, deal with students. You must be able to deal with the institution you are working, the department, the faculty. So self-motivated. Of course, when you are a researcher, you need to be self-motivated. Nobody is going to tell you to come to work 8 to 10 or 8 to 4 sometimes. You have to know how to manage your time, how to work, even when you don't feel like working. An effective communicator, this is very, very important. Whether through writing or through public speaking, you must be able to communicate your research to the larger communities for research, for your research to make impact, capable of thinking outside the box. Of course, research, what we are doing today, it's not what we are going to be doing in the future. So you, as a researcher, you must be able to foresee the future. What are we going to need in the future? You must be able to align your research. You must also be able to think towards that route. Now, motivation of a successful researcher. I think it's also important to have a good motivation. Like, why do you want to join academia? Why do you want to do a PhD? So these are the questions you need to ask yourself. Like motivation for you. Why are you interested in pursuing a career in research or academia? Is it because you want to travel abroad, you want to japa, or that is people? A lot of people like that you wouldn't believe they will be doing masters now, wants to do master because that is actually the easiest route to travel abroad. So is that your motivation? Or why are you undertaking this research? When you get there, why do you want to do research? Why? Or why do you want to be an academic? Is it because you want to become professor? Is it because you want to, contribute, knowledge? Is it because you want to give back to your community? These are the things you need to, the question you need to ask yourself before you go to academia. So this question, if you are sincere with this question, this will always push you or propel you whenever you're having problems or facing challenges in academia. Like, if you have like a good, if you have like a purposeful motivation, for pursuing that career, of course, that will also help you, to navigate through it whenever you are having a problem. So, of course, another most important thing that is very, very key to having a challenging or free, sojourn in academia is student-supervisor host relationship. As a postdoc or a doctoral student or master student, you must have a good relationship with your student, with your supervisor or host, and as well as institution at large. So this is kind of like Venn diagram that show a kind of relationship within the department, doctoral researcher, department discipline. Of course, you'll be focusing on your discipline, but you need to also work well with the department. And then that is what we call academic integration, with your discipline, your department HOD, and other people in the lab. So these two scenarios have like made two scenarios that can lead to issue. Look at this first scenario, like mismatch between discipline. Does not fit with conventional way of being a researcher or scholar in a discipline. Researcher practices not match with student strength. In some cases, situation whereby student is just looking for admission. I know a quite number of people now that travel abroad because they want to travel and they don't have the strength actually to do research, and now it leads to problem. So it's important that the student fits, like your strength fits with what you're going to be doing. Like if you are good in quantitative, you are good, don't do qualitative research. Make sure you do something that, don't say because you want to travel or you want to do PhD, you now accept like a PhD offer that you won't be able to do. You must be able to know your strength. It's important to know your strength and weakness, and always capitalize on your strength so that you wouldn't be stressing yourself. So if you're working towards your strength, yeah, that is good for you. And where you have weakness, you can then collaborate with people, but don't play toward your weakness. That is going to be disastrous. So another mismatch that will come from the department or discipline is when a researcher does not fit to what they call scholar in that department. A colleague once told me, who is an associate professor, once told me that the department called him at some point that the research that he's doing does not agree with the reason why they create that department. So it's important for you to know, like, let me give you an example in South Africa now. If you are a botanist, you are expected to be doing research that contributes to the flora of South Africa. Like most of the earlier researchers in South Africa, like botanists that I know, they are doing something about diversity, because that's one of the reasons why they created that department. So you must be able to, to fit as an early career researcher or doctoral researcher as well, like come up with an idea that actually align, with the agenda of the institution. And that will also help you, getting it. Like in UJ now, if you are not doing anything for IR, you are not getting money to fund your research. So you must be able to do, if you want money now from UJ, you must be able to do for IR. So, and money is one of the things you need to do to be a good, successful researcher. So you must be able to align your work, your research idea, what you are planning to do with the agenda, with the mandate of the institution. And a lot of about nature of graduate life. A lot of people don't foresee what graduate life entails. So I read, there's this one quote that I was jobless. Then I was jobless. Then I joined graduate school. Then I worked 24 hours. If you are in graduate school or you're a researcher, you have to work 24 hours. You have to work on holidays. You have to be really self-motivated. And a lot of people are not willing to do this. You have to, you wouldn't do what everyone is doing at some point. You have to be serious, be really to do the hard work. But a lot of people, I tell you, they wouldn't foresee this kind of expectation. So another thing is I've come up with this scenario. So it's also important to know yourself as a researcher. Are you self-motivated? Do you require interference? Have a small interference in your research? Like a situation whereby you have a dominant researcher with a student that is self-motivated. It's good. Any of these attributes or character is okay, but it has to be properly managed. Some supervisors are dominant, while some students are self-motivated. In that scenario, the relationship might not work. Like there is a student. I think I'm a student. Personally, I'm a student that wants to do my work myself. But of course, I also need some level of motivation from my supervisor. But I really like as a doctoral or a postdoctoral student, you must be able to, you must be self-motivated to be able to do your work. But some supervisors actually want to control you. They want to micromanage you. So in that kind of situation, a self-motivated student that requires minimum interference might not be able to cope with that kind of supervisor. Interactive supervisor with the one that enjoy interaction, of course, it's going to work well. We all know that. Independent supervisor, like believe it's a student's project. And this is a student that doesn't know what he's doing, that you need to, like, there are students that act like that you actually need to like explain what they are going to do for them. It's not a bad thing. That is what they require. Like one of the things that I always thank Allah for is I had a supervisor that always put me through my work. Like now I do this is how you do it. This is how you do it. This is how you do it, and it actually helped me as a researcher. So it's important to know what your supervisor wants, and if you are also early career researcher that is supervising students. It's also important to know the kind of students you are working with. So this would like prevent some problem or some challenges if it's properly managed. Now it's also important to have a mentors. These are one of the ways to to minimize challenges in academia, because succeeding in academia research can be challenging to someone unfamiliar with the usual benchmark. You have to I think one of the thing I enjoy as a student is I have people around me that are researchers. Like when you have uncle, you have brothers, that are already in academia, and you see how they do it, you see what they do. It actually really, really helps, honestly. Like it's a privilege. A lot of people don't have that opportunity. So it's important for you to have like a mentor. Like it's very, very key. It's very, very key. because this is a lonely journey. You just need mentor to, to ask question about, like to ask question from. You need it, like, how do you do this? How do you do that? How do you do this? How do it's actually so having a mentor will give you a novel insight about your research, about your career progression, about what you need to do next. And you might find the relationship develop over time as you gain more experience. Because someone you call your mentor today, you might be collaborator tomorrow. So that's how academia works. So you are not good, it's not going to be your mentor. The mentee will also be mentor someday. But it's also important for you to manage the situation very well and don't abuse the opportunity. You need to be proactive. The mentors are busy academics as well. So they also have the work they are doing. So don't text them or ask questions from them every day. You have to be able to manage the situation very well. So now I've listed these challenges. These are common challenges, that students normally face, or early career researchers normally face in academia. So lack of confidence, of course, everyone, lose confidence in their work at some point. Imposter syndrome, less knowledge, lack of motivation, writing skills, non-working experiments. I'll be focusing on the highlighted point. Of course, if your experiment is not working, it's a great challenge. If you're a doctoral student, and you'll be thinking, am I going to graduate now? So if you lack motivation, I've said something about this before. Less knowledge, it's important to know what you are doing. Not something about your research. So I will dwell more on the highlighted point, going forward. So confidence, academic confidence is something that can be rapidly decreased with bad grades. For people doing as they call PhD in the US, they have to do coursework. If you are failing your coursework, it could lead to, you can lose your confidence. Negative feedback from supervisor. I've met a quite number of students, that cry when they receive feedback from their supervisor. It could be, you can actually lose your confidence. My supervisor also normally tell me, does this really make sense at all? So if you are not strong enough, you're going to lose your confidence. Influence of the competitive friends or colleagues. This is also very important. You must try to manage your circle. Some people are actually not doing well like you, but they want to make you feel bad about what you are doing. There are people like that. They are not better than you, but they always come with you with, hey, I've done this, I've done that. Don't worry, you are going to do exactly the same. Just understand what you are doing first. So you must be wary of those colleagues too, and rejection. The rejection is a very, very serious thing. It's a very, very, very serious thing in academia. If your paper gets rejected often, of course, it can lead to, you losing your confidence. So if you are having this problem, one of the things is you get help from your tutor or counselor or mentor. Maybe based on your level of, based on maybe you are a doctoral student or a postdoc, make sure you seek help from your mentor. Like I always discuss, whenever I was discussing with one of my mentors a few days ago, my paper got rejected, and I was, I had to tell him, I know these are, and he gave me some insight about what I need to do and how to do it. Make a list of academic strengths and focus on them. You have to, I've said it, you have to play towards your strength. You can collaborate if in those areas that you have weakness. Make a list of your goal and take steps to achieve them. Don't rush. Make a list of what you want to do. Just do them, follow them, and surround yourself with others who have academic confidence in you and themselves. So whenever you are having issue, so I'm sure there are people that trust you, some people actually believe you are very good. So if you are losing your confidence, talk to people that that you trust, that believe in you or believe in you. It actually helps you to snap out of that issue. So it's also important not to be overconfident, so it's also important because there have been reports that, as early career researcher, we always have much overconfidence about our work. Like, it's not good to be overconfident. That's why in research, when you are reporting research, you might say this problem might be due to, we believe that this is the solution. Don't be too overconfident. There's always someone that will puncture your research. Like, there's always someone that will mess up your research if you are too overconfident about it. Every research has its own shortcoming. But if you are like, you need to be humble, like to know how to manage in between the two. Don't be too overconfident about it. Like, there is this quote that, like, if you thought that science was certain, well, that is just an error. Science is not certain. We could see what happened during COVID. People are doing all sorts of fasting. This one leads to it. That's how science works, and that's why we do research. You make mistake. Nothing is certain in what's it called, research. What was certain yesterday is not certain today. So you need to be humble with your findings. You need to be humble with your findings. Yeah, another thing is imposter syndrome. This is a very common. Imposter syndrome is described as self-doubt of intellect. Like, you are doubting yourself, that am I good enough? Can I do this? It's very common in academia. In fact, it's one of the major challenges that people in academia face, because some people are actually in academia to make you not feel good about yourself, despite the fact you are doing well. So it's important for you to also know that, no, yeah, you are actually doing well. So you need to be able to conquer imposter syndrome. So people suffering from imposter syndrome are grouped into like five. They are described in 5 ways: the perfectionist, the expert, the soloist, the natural genius, the superhuman. The perfectionist, they always have anxiety over how things are done, while the expert fears having a lack of knowledge. The soloist feels pressure to handle things alone. The natural genius stresses over not succeeding in the first try, feel guilty if they don't please everyone. So it's okay to feel this way, honestly. And every of these character is okay. Like, I like working with perfectionists because I'm not a perfectionist. I just want to get my work done. So if you are working with a perfectionist, it really helps you. And based on my experience, most women are perfect. Like, my supervisor is a woman. So he always, like, sometimes he refused my abstract for a conference for 5 times. So I'm used to it. Like, no, I know that my work is going to get better at the end of the day. So just try to be patient when you are dealing with perfectionists. So every of this character is so good, it must be properly managed. So if you are suffering from any of these, just focusing on your fact. You know your fact. Honestly, you know your fact. You know what you can do. You know what you have done. So focus on what you have done. Assess yourself, audit yourself, and learn it from your team members. Like, you can always learn from your team member. If someone has published in a journal and you are trying to publish in that journal, how do you go about it? If you want to do a PhD in a certain project, you can ask people who have done it before. Fighting feelings with evidence. In science, query is evidence. Science, they always say, like, if you don't have evidence, you are not doing science. You must be able to, like, have evidence about what if you are feeling one way and you don't have evidence for it, like, you are feeling you are not good enough now, and you have been excelling in your study, you have been publishing paper, that means it's not real. So you must have evidence for your feeling, acknowledging and releasing feelings, reframing negative thoughts, anticipating the feeling, sharing it with someone, finding a mentor. You can see finding a mentor is actually very important. The reason why it's important is when you are not feeling good about yourself, your mentor will tell you you are actually good. I tell you that I was working with someone, and that person actually, I did something for that. That person has been struggling with that thing for maybe for a few days, and the person sent that work to me, and I was able to do it within 5 minutes. And the message was like, "You are a genius." I was like, "No, I'm not a genius. Why would you call me a genius? It means that I'm not even smart." So some people actually, believe in you more than yourself. So, and that's how to, not to feel, what's it called? That's how to, face, the challenge of imposter syndrome. Look at the positive feedback you have had in your life, that would tell you are actually good. So don't. So yeah, celebrating a win, you want people to celebrate your win too. You know, it's important when you win, celebrate it, you know, with gratitude. So on imposter syndrome, find someone you respect highly in the field and put yourself in a position to learn from them. If you trust this person, share your feeling of imposter syndrome with them. When I share my feeling with my mentor, they were surprised I felt that way, which was a major confidence boost. Instead of feeling inadequate when I see something great that someone else did, I choose to save it. I try to recognize other good work as a tool to make my work better. Instead of something that I have to measure myself against. Sometimes you just need a blueprint to produce really high quality work. Plus a lot of the time, others have gotten pieces of their work from someone else too. Honestly, this is our academic work. Most of the thing you're going to be doing, or what you will do, you have to work. It has to be based on someone else's work. Yeah, regarding one of the problem I highlighted, problem with writing. Like everyone wants to write or publish, you know. Actually, it's actually good. Try it, you will like it. Everyone like writing, but they just don't want to write. So try it, you will like it. The only way to learn to write is to write. Honestly, that is the only way. If you don't write, you won't learn how to write. Morning pages, there are people that enjoys writing in the morning. If you are the type that want, make sure you write every morning. Writing retreats in groups, like I like writing in groups. You can ask questions from your mate. Actually, shut up and write. Just write. I always tell people, just write. Even if you are writing nonsense, just write. My sister always tell me, must always tell the graduate student in my life that if you don't write anything, there's no way I'm going to help you. Just write something. Even nonsense, write nonsense and send it to me. That is the only way I can help you. But if you don't write, why do you want me to help you? That means as a graduate student, you need to write. No, just getting started writing. Write often. Write every day. That is how to write. That is how to write well. The secret is regularity. You just have to write. As a graduate student, I always tell PhD students, like, honestly, you have to write every day. Even the days that you don't feel like writing your result, you can write your table of content. When I started my PhD, honestly, I wrote my table of content. Maybe after like a month, I started my PhD. I always update my thesis every day. Even acknowledgement is part of your thesis. You can always update it. Just make sure you write every day. Using the ABC approach, abstract. If you are writing an article, you can use ABC approach, abstract, body and conclusion. You can just write it like that. Writing and editing are not the same. Try not to edit soon. Just continue to write because you can always come up with good idea. And you may not even edit your work yourself. You can give it to people. Like when I write now, I don't like editing. I just give it to people that can write, that can edit. But make sure you write. Keep and save different fashion and develop a method for saving different fashion easily. For example, year, month, title. This is important for doctoral students because you may want to refer back to your first drive, especially if your supervisor is not consistent with his or her comment. So it's better to like manage what you are writing over time. According to this lady, she said one of the more important skills for my job is being able to decide how good is good enough. Every manuscript or proposal could always be better with more work, but perfect can also become the enemy of submitting. So it's important that when you are also writing, don't overdo it. Know when it's good. That's my source always tell me that is the work of the editor or reviewer or your examiner. Their work is to look for what is good, what is not good in your paper or your proposal. That is why you are not expected to make it perfect. So once it is good, just submit it, and So on writing as well, start writing where it is easiest to write. This is often not the beginning. So whenever you are writing, you can start from the conclusion. If you know that this is where you want to conclude your work. Generally, the first few sentences take longer than the next one. So when you are able to write few sentences, then the writing becomes to flow. So that is why you just need to start writing it. In the beginning, don't worry about writing what you think is formal or academic language. You don't have to, your writing doesn't have to be sophisticated at the beginning. When you start writing, just write it. It will get better with time. The key thing is communicating and get your ideas out there. In science, we are not that big on, you know, your grammar and everything. Once you are able to communicate your science, when you are able to communicate, most journals now, they offer like editing, you know, editing service. They can edit your English, but you just make sure your science is good. Of course, you need to write something. Telling a story which is easy for your reader to understand. That is the hallmark of, you know, a good writing. Now, publishing your work. A lot of people are scared of publishing or writing because the fear of public humiliation and their consequence, self-imposed. Nobody is going to kill you. Honestly, nobody is going to kill you. Just write that paper, submit to any journal. The worst that can happen is rejection. Honestly, just nobody is going to kill you. Nobody is going to humiliate you. Everybody gets rejected. Just write. Just write. Co-publishing. So it's important that if you feel that as an early career researcher that you collaborate with people. I know people that are very good in editing, writing. Just give them the idea. Honestly, just write something. They're going to publish your work. And it's actually better to collaborate with people. So co-publish, it's better to be a 25% author of a published paper than 100% of a never published paper. I tell you, I'm having a problem now with a paper. It's a single author paper and I submitted to a journal. And I feel like the person that reviewed the paper is someone that I know. And he actually, like, comment was very, very brutal. I feel the person was thinking that I should have collaborated with him. Honestly, that's how I feel about the paper. Of course, I should have, honestly, but I didn't. Now the paper is not really rejected, but I withdraw the paper because I feel like, no, they are not giving me a sincere review. So it's important for you to like collaborate with people. It actually helps, you know, publishing your idea. Be generous, especially the students, more junior colleagues. This is your job. And anyway, if you are also an early career researcher, a postdoc, be gentle with your student, your junior colleague. Collaborate with them. When they send work to you, don't say, no, they are writing nonsense. You must be nice with them. Everyone at some point, you know, was in their shoe. You aim high, but be street smart. When you want to submit your publication, you must be, you know, of course, aim high, but you must know exactly where you need to publish your work. This is very, very important. One thing that I do is whenever I want to write a paper, I already have a journal in mind. Like, it's important for you to, before you start writing a paper, have a journal in mind. Download few papers from that journal. See, you know, you can even cite some of the paper in the journal. It actually helps. You can even cite the what's it called? The editor-in-chief of that journal, if he has published in that line of research you are doing, because it actually helps. My sponsor told me, I know, Ajao, you need to learn the craft. Cite that editor-in-chief. So if you have cited the editor-in-chief, I'm sure you want to like at least send your paper for review. So it's part of what you need to know. Like, make sure you are conversant with the journal you want to publish before you start writing your work. Of course, you have to aim high, but know where your paper actually, the journal your paper fits in. It's not a bad thing to publish in a local journal. The most important thing is science, communicating your science. So a local journal is something, a journal you call international journal, it's a local journal somewhere. You understand? So that is how it works. So local, it's not a big, it's like you publishing in the local journal, it's not that bad, but your science must be good. Don't worry too much about intellectual capital. Don't worry too much about giving people idea about your work. Don't worry about sharing your paper with people, like people to contribute into your research. Because the anxiety about intellectual property or idea being stolen is inversely proportional to the size of the intellectual property of the idea. You know, and if you had one good idea, the chances are you will have another one. That's why it's good to share. Like, if you share one idea, the chances is that you will have another one. Though it's important to give your idea away. It's important. That's why it's important for you to collaborate. And you see this logic. Do you have an idea? Yes. No. Think more. Read something. Talk to someone. Yes. Have you figured out how to communicate your idea? Yes. Start writing. You see how it works. Start writing. If you don't have the idea, talk to someone. And this actually it works. Intellectual property is non-summative. You create it often by giving it away. Or idea too. So if you have one idea, give it away, give it to students, tell people that if you don't have the time to do that research, tell your colleague that is interested in that research, let them write it, collaborate with them. And that's how one of the ways to be a successful researcher. No, another problem I highlighted is how to come up with research ideas. This is one of the major problems in academia. Like I know, a lot of people always don't know what to do as a researcher. One thing that has really helped me, honestly, like this is my own story. Keep up on review papers. You have to write review paper or read review papers. Follow researcher on research. Honestly, that is one of the things that helped me. I started following research. I opened my ResearchGate in 2010 when I was in 300 level. And that is just one of the game changer in my academia, in my career, and academia Twitter as well. So if you follow people on research, you always see new papers published in your feed, and it can really help you to come up with ideas. Follow big names in your feed on social media. You can always learn from their life, their way of life, the way they do what they do, the way they think. And as a good, and you can always learn from them. Follow Heroic Alert and Science Daily. Especially Science Daily, I've been following it for like almost forever, and it's actually helped me. It's not only in your feed. It's also important to know something about other field too, so that you can imagine. Like now, everybody is doing. Even if you are in economics now, you have to do 4IR. You must know how to apply your work to 4IR. If you are doing even Arabic now, Islamic study, people are talking about natural language processing. People are talking about even people in Arabic, Yoruba now, they have to learn coding. Now, natural language processing, that's why you need to keep up with information in science. And of course, read good journals and even low impact factor journals. It's also important to read journals, regardless of regardless of the impact factor. Let me give you an example. Look at this paper, Cromolina odorata. I actually came up with the idea to write that paper on Tithonia difficifolia from the idea of Cromolina odorata. I saw that paper in Cromolina odorata in 2016 or 2017. And I was like, no, Cromolina odorata is what we call Akintola in Nigeria. Akintola is an invasive plant. Tithonia difficifolia is also an invasive plant. And I was like, no, this big name, Johannes Van Stande wrote a paper on Cromolina odorata. Then I can also write on Tithonia difficifolia, which is also an invasive plant in Nigeria. And I will submit to the journal where is the editor. And now I wrote the paper, Tithonia difficifolia, an invasive plant so I wrote it, I submitted to the journal where this guy, Johannes Van Stande, is the chief editor. And it got published. Luckily, the person that edited the paper, Lindy McGraw, is actually that edited the paper, is part of the author in that same paper. So they feel like it's almost similar paper, and it was edited by one of the authors. And I got the idea from their paper. Honestly, I got the basic idea from my paper. Another scenario is this paper I published, Wandering Through Southwestern Nigeria, an inventory of Yoruba Yusuf Plan. I got the idea from a paper from my supervisor, PhD supervisor, a review of ethnobotany of the Basotho and the Lesotho from the Free State. It's a similar paper, but I feel like nothing has been done in Nigeria in that regard. And that's how I came up with the idea. Another idea I got from the paper I've read is quantitative ethnobotany of Khoisan descendant in South Africa. Nobody is doing something quantitative analysis or quantitative medicinal plant in Nigeria, and I got the idea from that plant, and that's how we are able to work on this plant. Which plant for what ailment? A quantitative analysis of ethnobotany of Ile-Ife, Osun State. And this paper I'm working on now, I got the idea from this paper, the diversity of multiple uses of Southern African legumes, and this exactly the paper I'm working on now. We're going to use R to analyze. So if you want to have idea about publishing, about writing, just read papers. Just read. If you are reading, you always have idea of what to write. That is just the secret to having idea about research. Read papers, document them, and just write it.
Jazakumullah khairan, sir. We have less than 5 minutes to go, sir.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
thank you.
coping with rejection. So this, how to cope with it, avoid taking it personally, feel the feedback constructively, embrace your feeling. You are not alone. So a lot of people have written something about, coping with rejection. Like the research career is built on the basis of effort and rejection. Every rejection makes you stronger if you learn which happened and keep trying to make robust science. So you have to be able to cope with the rejection in academia. So how do you came up in time of your rejection from your paper? It's a peer review. When you submit your paper for review, it's a peer review, not review by DETI. It is not a comment of who you are. So when you receive a comment from your paper, it's actually not a comment of who you are. It's how someone has perceived your paper. So you must just know how to cope with them. You may hide under the rug, but only a small rug and only for a short space of time. So when you are rejected, just after a day, get back to that your work. Most reviewers, not all, are actually trying their best. No reviewer wants to reject your paper. They just want to make your science good. The importance of work-life balance. It's also important to have a work. It's one of the major challenges in academia. If you can't maintain work balance, you're going to get stressed. That is why you're going to be stressed. So you maintain your mental health, reduce stress by having a work-life balance, and to ensure your physical and health well-being. It also increase your productivity. You are motivated to do your work, and you're also more creative. Of course, you only get one life. If you drop dead today, they're going to hire another doctoral student or a postdoc or a researcher. So people have said a lot about rejection. Reject their rejection. After six rejection in a month, I think I'm starting to get used to it, but it's still hot. Of course, it will always hot. You can see what people have been doing, what people have been saying when it comes to rejection. So you have to after some time, you just have to forget about it and you can see this guy. He said, I saw one nice, so these are what people have said about rejection. So lastly, in conclusion, Anas Ibn Malik reported that Allah kulli Muslimin wa Musliman. So as a Muslim, it's important for us to seek knowledge. And that is one of the things we are in this world for. And Allah also said in the Holy Quran that you take Mataman Yashao in Quran 2, verse Quran 2, 269. You take Mataman Yashao, Waman you take Mataman Kodiyuti Hayran Keziran, Waman Yasakaru Ilalu. That Allah bestow, granted knowledge to whom He will. And it's important for us to show gratitude, for the knowledge. We must show gratitude to Allah for bestowing us with knowledge and sound head, because without knowledge, you can't actually do research. And whenever we are having challenges during this sojourn, in our academic sojourn, Allah said in the Old Quran that Allah does not burden a soul beyond what it can bear. And most of these challenges, most time, we learn from this problem. We learn from these challenges, and that's actually what will shape our career or future. And Allah also said, whenever we are having a challenge, so we must seek help from whenever we are facing challenge with patience, perseverance, and prayer. And one of the prayer we can do when we are facing academic challenges, Allahumma la sala illa man ja'altahu salan. And we do a lot of istighfar. That's actually an idea that someone met Abu Hurairah that has Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that is he's struggling with memorizing his work, and Allah and Prophet told him that he should increase in istighfar. So if you increase yourself in istighfar, things a lot become more easier. And we should also try to do what's it called, Sadaqah, and we must always pray for one of the way of making having a beneficial knowledge is we should always pray for our teachers. We must respect them. And if you are working with a research, if you are under a tutelage of a researcher, you must be thinking, I just want to get my PhD and leave. No, you must be nice to them. You must be kind to them, and you must be sincere with them. And that is also very important. So thank you for listening. Jazakumullahu khairan. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت وأتوب إليك وأنا بك رب السلام عليكم والسلام عليكم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Even before I can say the Jazakumullah khairan, you have it for us. Jazakumullah khairan. Really appreciate your insight from discussing about the obstacles and challenges faced in research to backing it up with Quranic quotes and hadith, and also prayers we can do to navigate our research cycle. Jazakumullah khairan once again. Everybody are really happy because I can see the comment in the chat box. While I try to do a little summary about what has been discussed, I would like each and every one of us who have one question or the other to drop it in the chat box. And also those who want to speak via the mic, they can also indicate by raising their hands. Okay, while I do that and do my summary in the next 5 minutes, please gather your questions, and then we do that briefly within 15 minutes, and then the program will be off, inshallah. Indeed, Dr. Ajawo have discussed common obstacles in research circles and ways we can address them, including prayers. And that is also very important. You need to know your Allah. You need to know that, yes, it's good to pray, and then backing the prayer with your endeavors, bring out successful achievements. Starting from generating the idea, doing the actual research, and making the research known to show your contribution to existing knowledge. There are several challenges that are involved in this. And then particularly for we students and undergraduate, postgraduates, and the rest, please, it's important to equip yourself with important factors like you have to be passionate about your research, resilience. Dr. Ajawo discussed about rejection of trying to publish research articles and several other forms of struggles. Even you could be in the lab trying to get some data. The data are not just correlating. You are just getting some opposite trend in results as compared to the existing literature. Of course, you might be getting something new idea or trying to get some new results, but it's also important that at least you carry your supervisors along. And I also like to emphasize that please ensure you carry your supervisors along with your findings in the lab. Probably if you are not doing research that is related to the lab, other forms of research, it's important to carry your supervisors. These are people who have also navigated the process, and they are more of an expertise in this field of your study. You are just a beginner, so you need to carry them along, and then in a way to guide you across the necessary steps to take. And also, being a researcher, you have to answer some important questions. What is your sole reason for being a researcher? That was also mentioned in the discussion. Please let us ponder once again on it, especially with postgraduate students. And then it's important that you find your strengths, capitalize on that particular strength, and exploit it as desired. Yeah, we can know everything. It's important to capitalize on our strength and then exploit it to the best of our ability. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for us. And Dr. Ajawo also talk about kicking imposter syndrome by learning from team members. Don't feel too proud that how can I lay so low to discuss about my research with a member. You need to discuss about your research with a member. Probably if you're facing some challenges, even if you're not facing challenges, probably you're finding new things. Discuss about it with a member. You could get more insight on ways to present it in a better way. And also, it's also important that as colleagues, we submit our research work. It could be a manuscript, it could be a thesis, dissertation, and the likes. So our colleague members, to have a look at it, probably provide some useful suggestions on ways we can improve our write-up. It's important. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy. And part of the quotes Dr. Ajawo cited include, perfect can also become the enemy of submitted. Let us ponder on it, important, because if you're trying to it has to be 100% perfect, one is likely not to graduate. One can just keep doing it and then keep repeating on that particular spot, and then you have so much ways to go, but you're still on the point. And then lastly, second to the last, according to UDEL, as cited by Dr. Ajawo, the outcome of the perfect training experience is that you leave the laboratory thinking that your mentor is a good person, but a bit dumb. Well, I am a doctoral student and I think I can relate to an extent with my writing and with my training so far. So other postgraduates as well, please ponder upon it. And lastly, no academic discipline is worth your health. Please, we need to look after ourselves, after our family, and by so doing, we can also navigate our research endeavors, and not only that, even our dean, it's also important we carry everything along. It's not only about research, academics, or works of life. It's important we also prepare well for our akhira. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy. And now let me look at available questions we have in the chat box, as well as those who are interested in speaking. Okay, please. Please permit me to read these. So can I read the questions aloud or?
Yes, you can.
Okay, great. Trying to look at this to the very first question I have here. Okay. A lot of people are saying Jazakumullah khairan. Thank you very much, sir. So here, what if those people you want to collaborate with did not respond well? What can one do in that regard? And then the part B of the question is that how best to collaborate to get good responses? Is that clear, or should I read it once again?
Yeah, I think you should come. Yeah,
again.
you come again. Yeah,
okay, the question is, what if those people you want to collaborate with did not respond well? And what can one do in such scenario? So the part B of the question is how best to collaborate to get good responses.
Okay, like based on my understanding of the question.
Yeah.
So if they are not responding well, I think you must look for, people that, that also share your goal, like that, at least from your cycle, people you can collaborate with. I guess maybe the person asking the question is trying to maybe collaborate with some people abroad or something. You can also collaborate with people from, your immediate environment, and you discuss your research about with them, and, that we, in academia, a lot of people are busy to respond to emails, and so it's important for you to start your collaboration from your immediate environment and from your people, from your colleagues. If you're a master student, you can ask your colleague you can collaborate to write a paper, a review paper, and that's how it starts. So when you start publishing, people will always invite you people will be inviting. That's one thing. Like when you start publishing, people will ask you to come and contribute. Just start first. Start from yourself first. Start from your, from people in your lab first. I think that's how to go about it.
Jazakumullah khairan. Professor Yakub is saying a prayer here. This is quite an interesting presentation. May Allah reward Dr. Ajao for the insights. Thank you once again, sir. Yeah, there's another question here. What are the prospects for researchers apart from working at research bodies and lecturing?
Of course, now, the thing, there is this quote that I read, like, I forgot, I will not be able to quote it in verbatim, because being a researcher, like you can, if you have a PhD or a master's, you should be able to do anything outside, academics. You don't have to work like industry. Now, most of my friends who did their PhD in Canada or a postdoc in Canada now, they are looking for a way out of academia because you don't get, enough money in academia. And that's why I said, earlier that you must really have passion for this job. It's not about money, it's about fulfillment. But now as a chemist, let's say you have a PhD in chemistry, you can work in pharmaceutical industry. You can work in a polymer industry, in a material industry where they develop material. And there are a lot of R&D now that what you are actually doing is to develop a product that is needed in the industry. So like as a mathematician, you can work in, anywhere, like you can work in bank, you can work in, auditing firm. It depends on how you can apply your work. the era of 4I have now has actually exposed everything. Computer scientists now can work in food industry. You know, you can have your PhD in 4I or food now, and you are in computer science. Then you work in food industry to develop products for them, you know. So it depends on you, what you really want to do. But as a PhD, as a PhD holder, or as a graduate student, it actually widens your horizon. It allows you to, be able to interpolate information and, into a bigger picture. And that is what you actually need. That is what is needed in the industry. So you can actually just know what you really want to do. And that's what is important.
Thank you very much, sir. There's this last question on the chat box here that says, I have 2 papers with my supervisors in Nigeria, but administrative issues have not made them publish it. Issues like authorship issues and absence. The person is asking, is there any advice you can give regarding this?
Yeah, what I would do is, I don't think there is a lot of problem regarding publishing. I'm sorry, in Nigeria, I wouldn't do that in South Africa if it is a paper from my supervisor and she did not approve the submission. You understand? Yeah, it depends on where you are working. In abroad, you can't publish your paper if your supervisor does not approve it. So, but I guess in Nigeria, people don't, just make sure you had the name of your supervisor, I guess. You need to grow, you need to apply for graduate studies, you need that publication to boost your CV. Just write the paper, add the name of your supervisor, probably even as a first author, so that the person will know that you actually respect him or her. So just go ahead with the publishing it. Don't wait. I guess that's just send tell him you want to publish your work, and if he or she doesn't respond, I think you can go ahead publishing it and add his or her name to it. But if you are in abroad, where they are very big on intellectual, of course, you see your work and you have added the name of your supervisor, and of course you have to wait. You have to he or she has to approve your submission before you can submit your that paper. So, but I guess if you're in Nigeria, people are not that big on things like that. But make sure you had the name of your supervisor if he doesn't respond.
Regarding that, I have a personal experience. For example, if one submit to some certain journals, they are going to reply all the authors on the list that your paper, so person added you to the list of the co-authors, and then this paper was submitted. Should, in case such supervisor, write to the editor of the journal that I didn't approve the submission of this particular manuscript, and hence I want it to be rejected or probably not accepted for peer review. In what way can one really go about it?
I don't think the supervisor, I guess the supervisor is just busy. It's not
if that is the case, okay.
I get more, people are too busy. If whenever I'm also in Nigeria too, I can, you don't really get time to. I guess the supervisor is busy. That's why.
Okay.
That's why I guess that's the reason why. I don't know, but I think the student can go ahead. So there's a way not to. there's a way you can do it that they will not send email to that supervisor.
Okay, by not adding the email of the supervisor in the initial phase.
Yeah, you can just remove A from the email. Remove A from the email.
All right, Jazakumullah for all details and then for having to answer those questions. We thank you so much, sir. And also, Professor Yakub has just mentioned that we thank Allah for blessing the brain behind this program, the association. Engineer, one of the team member, Engineer Zainab, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless her with a baby boy, Abdurrahman. And she wants to implore our lecturer for today to help pray for Abdurrahman, the mother and the father. It's a great news.
Luckily, me won't say Alpha, but I will do it in Yoruba. So, Kolon Obawa da Omanasi, Kolon Obawa Womana, Kolon Obawa for knowledge like Abdurrahman today is. So that the name is named after. So, Obawa Baba Tomana Niasiri, Kolon Obawa Daumana Lagba, Kolon Obawa Jeki Omana Diogo Islam Ga, Kolon Auntie Wairun Kana Bena, Kolon Oshifun.
Allahumma amin. Amin.
Ọlọ́run máa ṣe ọmọ náà ní ọmọ àpòkí, Ọlọ́run ó bá wa ṣe ní ọmọ alálùbáríkà ọmọ, Ọlọ́run bá ṣe ní genius, Ọlọ́run bá ṣe ní ọmọ tí ó ní first class, ọmọ tí ó ní ọmọ tí ó jẹ́ hafiz, ọmọ tí ó ní ẹ̀yàkúyà, ọmọ tí ó gbọ́ ọmọ tí ó ní Ọlọ́run ṣe ní síkìlà, Ọlọ́run ṣe ní ọmọ tí ó mọ̀ sí kí ó máa dà àwọn òbí ẹ̀ láàmú. I don't know what I should say. Allah inna atina Fatiha bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta alaihim ghayril maghdubi alaihim waladdallin. Àwọn grandma náà tó rí ìsàdúrà náà kọ́lọ́n ó jẹ́ kí kọ́lọ́n bá fún wọn lẹ́mìí gígùn. Àtàwọn grandpa náà kọ́lọ́n ó jẹ́ kárí wọn pé kọ́lọ́n bá ṣe dáadáa fún wọn. Kọ́lọ́n bá sọ̀rọ̀, kọ́lọ́n bá ṣe wọ́n ní pẹ̀lẹ́, kọ́lọ́n bá sọ̀rọ̀ wọn ní rọrùn.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Inna a'tainaka al-kawthar fasalli li rabbika wanhar. Inna shani'aka wal abtar. Jazakumullahu khairan. Thank you so much, sir. And we hope that when next we invite you, are going to answer our call.
Inshallah.
I think on this note, there are no more questions here, and also nobody is raising their hands. So on this note, I say, Subhanallah wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, wa astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.